The tragic end of the 12 apostles of Jesus. Imagine abandoning everything you know to follow a charismatic leader, witnessing unbelievable miracles, and becoming part of a movement that would forever change the world. The 12 apostles of Jesus Christ did just that. Coming from humble backgrounds, such as fishermen and craftsmen, they abandoned their lives to follow Jesus. But this choice brought dramatic consequences. Each apostle faced unimaginable challenges, brutal persecutions, and terrible martyrdoms, all because of their unwavering faith. And their deaths? Far from ordinary, they are marked by deep mysteries, controversies, and macabre accounts that defy logic. You are about to discover how these men lived and died in ways that will leave you astounded. Prepare for an intense journey through biblical and historical records as we explore the lives and tragic ends of the 12 apostles. This video reveals details you could never have imagined. I invite you to subscribe to the channel The B Side of the Bible. Click the like button and watch this video until the end. Let's uncover these secrets together. John, one of the 12 apostles, is a deeply fascinating figure shrouded in mysteries. Born into a family of fishermen, the son of Zebedee and Salome, and brother of James, John was chosen by Jesus to be one of his closest followers. From the beginning, he showed singular devotion, often referred to as the disciple whom Jesus loved. This closeness granted him a privileged place among the apostles, being a witness to crucial moments, such as the transfiguration of Jesus on Mount Tabor and the Last Supper, where he reclined next to Christ. After the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus, John emerged as a central figure in the nascent Christian community in Jerusalem. He played a vital role in spreading Jesus' message and consolidating faith among the early Christians. However, John's life was far from peaceful. During the reign of Emperor Domitian, he faced severe persecutions for his preaching. According to tradition, John was captured in Ephesus and subjected to brutal tortures, including being thrown into a cauldron of boiling oil. Incredibly, he emerged unscathed from this ordeal, an event many consider a divine miracle. Despite surviving this execution attempt, John was exiled to the island of Patmos, a penal colony isolated from the Roman Empire. It was in Patmos that he had the apocalyptic visions that make up the book of Revelation, the last book of the Bible. These revelations, with their vivid images and prophecies about the end of times, had a profound impact on Christian theology and continue to intrigue scholars and believers to this day. But John's fate after his exile on Patmos is even more intriguing. Reports suggest that he returned to Ephesus, where he continued to lead the Christian community until his death. According to tradition, John lived to an old age, dying of natural causes, which is exceptional among the apostles, who mostly met violent ends. Eusebius of Caesarea, one of the early church historians, reports that John died in Ephesus around the year 100 AD, at about 94 years old. However, when his tomb was opened by Constantine, it is said to have been empty, which has generated numerous speculations and legends about his true fate. The life of John, the beloved apostle, is a testimony to unwavering faith and spiritual resilience. His ability to endure tortures, exile, and still maintain a fervent faith makes him an exemplary figure in the history of Christianity. His writings, especially Revelation, continue to inspire and challenge generations of Christians. John is remembered not just for his closeness to Jesus, but also for his extraordinary courage and resilience in the face of the most extreme adversities. James, the son of Zebedee, holds a prominent place among the apostles of Jesus, known for his courage and fervor. Along with his brother John, he was called by Jesus on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. The two brothers, nicknamed Sons of Thunder for their intense and impetuous nature, instantly abandoned their fishing nets and followed Jesus, showing unwavering devotion from the start. James was a witness to unique and transformative moments, such as the transfiguration of Jesus on Mount Tabor, where he saw the divine glory, and the resurrection of Jairus' daughter, which confirmed Christ's power over life and death. Moreover, he was one of the few to be with Jesus in Gethsemane, sharing the Master's anguish on the night of his arrest. After Jesus' ascension, James became a prominent figure in the Church of Jerusalem, demonstrating strong leadership and unshakable faith. His dedication to preaching the gospel quickly attracted the attention of Jewish and Roman authorities. James' reputation as a fervent and charismatic leader grew, but it also put him in danger. In the book of Acts, chapter 12, we read about King Herod Agrippa's decision to gain favor with the Jews by ordering James' arrest and execution. This shocking event marked the first martyrdom of one of the apostles and served as an ominous omen of the persecutions that would follow. Accounts of James' death vary, but all agree on its brutality. Most traditions hold that he was beheaded with a sword, a form of execution reserved for those deemed serious criminals. Other accounts suggest he might have been pierced by a lance. Regardless of the method, James' execution was an act of extreme violence and a testament to his unwavering faith until the very end. According to some traditions, James remained steadfast and courageous in the face of death, praying for his executioners and inspiring those present with his serenity. The death of James had a profound impact on the young Christian community. His execution demonstrated the seriousness of the opposition faced by Christians, reinforcing the apostles' determination to continue their mission, regardless of the cost. James' martyrdom became a symbol of sacrifice and devotion, inspiring other Christians to stand firm in their faith, even in the face of persecution and death. His life and martyrdom are a powerful testament to what it means to follow Christ with total dedication. Peter, originally known as Simon, was a fisherman from Galilee when he was called by Jesus to become a fisher of men. This encounter transformed his life forever. Jesus gave him the name Peter, which means rock, symbolizing the fundamental role he would play in the foundation of the Christian church. Impulsive and passionate, Peter often stood out among the apostles for his fervent faith and human failings, such as when he walked on water to meet Jesus but sank due to doubt. His declaration of Jesus as the Christ, the Son of the living God, marked a decisive moment in Christ's ministry. After the resurrection of Jesus, Peter emerged as the undisputed leader of the apostles. He was the central figure on the day of Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit descended upon the disciples, and his bold preaching resulted in the conversion of thousands. Peter performed miracles, healed the sick, and even raised the dead, consolidating his spiritual authority and leadership in the nascent church. However, his path was not without challenges. Peter's growing popularity and influence over the Christian community attracted the attention and hostility of the Roman authorities. In the year 64 AD, a great fire devastated Rome. Emperor Nero, seeking a scapegoat, accused the Christians of causing the fire. This accusation led to one of the fiercest persecutions against Christians. Peter was arrested and sentenced to death. According to tradition, in his humility, Peter asked to be crucified upside down, as he did not consider himself worthy of dying in the same manner as Jesus. This form of crucifixion, besides being extremely painful, symbolized Peter's deep humility and devotion to his master. Peter's crucifixion on Vatican Hill marked a significant turning point in the history of Christianity. His martyrdom sealed his role as the rock upon which the church would be built, inspiring countless followers to remain steadfast in their faith, even in the face of death. Peter was buried where today stands the majestic St. Peter's Basilica, one of the holiest sites in Christendom. The life and death of Peter are a powerful testimony to the transformation that occurs when one responds to Christ's call. From fisherman to leader of the apostles, Peter showed that faith, even with human flaws, can be an unbreakable force. His courage in the face of persecution and his unwavering dedication to the gospel continue to be a source of inspiration. Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, holds a unique place among the apostles of Christ. Before following Jesus, he and his brother were fishermen in the waters of Galilee, where life was measured by the rhythm of the waves and the weight of the nets. Unlike Peter, whose personality was striking and vigorous, Andrew was known for his reflective approach and his ability to build bridges between people. He was, in fact, the first disciple to follow Jesus, leading the way for the other apostles, including his own brother, whom he introduced to the Messiah. Andrew had an eye for hidden potential, a quality that shone when he found a young boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish. In that moment, while others saw only insufficiency, Andrew saw an opportunity for a miracle. This act fed thousands, reinforcing Andrew's role as a facilitator of divine deeds, someone who discreetly set the stage for Jesus' teachings and miracles. After the resurrection and ascension of Jesus, while Peter assumed the visible leadership of the church, Andrew embarked on an equally vital but less documented mission. He took the gospel beyond the familiar borders of Jerusalem, traveling to territories we now know as Greece and perhaps even Russia. Wherever he went, Andrew sowed the seeds of the new faith, facing not only cultural resistance, but also the physical dangers that accompanied preaching in foreign lands. His missionary journey highlighted his courage and dedication, traits that would echo through the centuries in Christian communities in these regions. Andrew's martyrdom in Patras encapsulates the apex of his mission and sacrifice. Condemned to die on the cross, he chose to be crucified on an X-shaped cross, known since then as the Cross of St. Andrew. This choice was not just a sign of humility, avoiding resemblance to Christ's crucifixion, but also a powerful declaration of faith. Until his final moments, Andrew continued to evangelize, turning his execution into a living sermon and a testament to resilient faith. After the resurrection of Jesus, Andrew, often called the quiet forerunner, reminds us that true influence rarely shouts but powerfully whispers through acts of faith and love. His story celebrates those who, away from the limelight, perform deeds that resonate for generations. Andrew teaches that true greatness is found not under the spotlight, but in the quiet persistence of God-given mission. He remains an inspiration to all those who seek to serve faithfully, regardless of recognition or reward. Philip, one of the 12 apostles, emerged from Bethsaida, the same town as Andrew and Peter. His role in Jesus' ministry was marked by a crucial encounter that exemplifies his readiness for faith. When questioned by Jesus on how to feed a crowd of 5,000, Philip responded with practical concern, highlighting the prohibitive cost of food. This interaction, although revealing his limitations and seeing beyond the material, also set the stage for one of Jesus' most spectacular miracles, the multiplication of loaves and fishes, showing Philip and the other apostles that, with faith, the impossible can become possible. After the ascension of Jesus, Philip fully embraced the mission of spreading the gospel, demonstrating a deeper understanding of divine possibilities. He was especially active in Samaria, a region traditionally avoided by Jews. There, his preaching broke cultural barriers, resulting in mass conversions, including that of the famous magician Simon, an event that demonstrated the transformative power of the Holy Spirit over dark arts and hardened hearts. Tradition says that Philip continued his missionary journeys even further, reaching Greece and possibly Asia Minor. In each location, his approach was characterized by an exceptional ability to connect with a variety of cultures, a skill that, according to reports, led many to Christianity. However, like many of his apostolic brothers, Philip's commitment to the gospel eventually put him on a collision course with local authorities who saw the new faith as a threat to the status quo. Philip's martyrdom is an episode laden with drama and significance. In Hierapolis, a city known for its pagan practices, Philip faced fierce opposition. He was crucified upside down, a death that mirrors Peter's, but with a unique nuance that underscores humility and unconditional acceptance of his fate. It is said that, even in his final hours hanging on the cross, Philip continued to preach to those gathered, a living witness until his last breath. The life and legacy of Philip are vibrant examples of the power of operative faith and the courage to cross both geographical and cultural boundaries. His ministry expanded the horizons of the early church, establishing a model for future evangelization. Philip teaches us that barriers are often disguised opportunities for growth and for demonstrating divine power. His story resonates as a call for Christ's followers today to continue crossing borders, carrying the message of hope and salvation to all corners of the world. Bartholomew, often identified with Nathanael, who was introduced to Jesus by Philip, is an enigmatic figure among the apostles. He stands out for his sincere character, described by Jesus as a true Israelite, in whom there is no deceit. This quality of transparency and honesty defined his journey and his approach to the gospel, making him a respected and powerful witness to the life and miracles of Christ. After the ascension of Jesus, Bartholomew embarked on missions that took him beyond the traditional boundaries of apostolic preaching. According to traditions, his missionary journey extended to territories that now comprise parts of Turkey, Armenia, and even India, places where Christianity was virtually unheard of. In each location, Bartholomew faced deeply entrenched cultures and beliefs, many hostile to Abrahamic monotheism. His ability to dialogue with various traditions and his deep commitment to teaching the gospel allowed him to plant the initial seeds of Christianity. Bartholomew's zeal for converting souls did not go unnoticed. He attracted the attention of local authorities and religious leaders, many of whom felt threatened by his preaching. Tradition narrates that Bartholomew faced severe opposition, especially in Armenia, where the influence of paganism was still strong. Despite the risks, he persisted, converting even some members of the local nobility, an act that only heightened tensions. Bartholomew's martyrdom is marked by its brutality. He was captured and condemned to be flayed alive, a method of execution that reflected the cruelty and fear his preaching provoked among the pagans. Tradition tells us that, even under indescribable tortures, Bartholomew continued to proclaim his faith, converting others until his final moments. After being flayed, he was beheaded, sealing his testimony with his blood. This final act of faith and courage transformed Bartholomew into a martyr and saint, whose sacrifice has inspired countless believers over the centuries. Bartholomew's legacy, intertwined with stories of courage, faith, and a tragic end, serves as a poignant reminder of the cost of spreading the gospel in hostile lands. His life illustrates the unwavering conviction of the apostles in their divine mission and the profound impact one man can have by living and dying for his beliefs. In many ways, Bartholomew embodies the spirit of a true missionary, someone who crosses boundaries, faces dangers, and transforms hearts, even at the cost of his own life. Matthew, originally known as Levi, led a very different life before heeding the call of Jesus. Seated at the tax collection booth, he was viewed by his contemporaries as a collaborator with the Roman occupying forces, a pariah in Jewish society. Matthew's decision to leave his lucrative career to follow an itinerant preacher from Galilee was not only surprising but transformative. Matthew's journey with Jesus shaped him into a divine storyteller whose primary contribution to Christianity was his gospel, a detailed and organized narrative of Christ's life and teachings. This text served as a crucial tool for spreading the gospel among Judeo-Christian communities, helping to ground the new faith in a solid and accessible narrative. The Gospel of Matthew is particularly notable for its effort to link Jesus' actions to Old Testament prophecies, demonstrating that Jesus was the expected Messiah. After Jesus' ascension, Matthew did not limit himself to writing. He embarked on missions that took him beyond the borders of Judea. His destinations, according to different traditions, included Ethiopia and other parts of Africa, and even distant Persia. In each location, Matthew faced the colossal task of introducing Christ's narrative to cultures that were completely foreign to the Judeo-Christian tradition. In his missionary efforts, Matthew used his storytelling skills to transcend cultural and linguistic barriers, planting the seeds of the gospel on fertile soil. Matthew's martyrdom is a dark and exciting chapter in his story. In Ethiopia, according to reports, he faced the ultimate hostility from a local king whose wife Matthew had converted to Christianity. Seeing the apostle as a threat to his power and local customs, the king ordered his execution. Matthew was martyred, killed by spears while celebrating a mass. This brutal end, however, was not in vain. The Christian community he helped found would continue to grow, enduring through time and persecution. The life and death of Matthew reflect the transformative power of faith and forgiveness. From tax collector to apostle, from pariah to a pillar of the church, Matthew exemplifies the redemption offered by the gospel he so fervently spread. His story is a lasting testament to the impact an individual can have when responding to Christ's call. He leaves us a legacy not just of written words, but of a life lived in the fullness of divine grace, a life that continues to inspire believers around the world. Thomas is perhaps better known for his doubt than for his faith, earning the epithet of Thomas the Doubter. However, his story is one of the most complex and human among the apostles. This man, who needed to see to believe, represents the struggle and journey of faith that many face. His story is not just about doubt, but about the search for a deeper understanding and the ultimate acceptance of the divine mystery. After Christ's resurrection, when the other disciples proclaimed they had seen the risen Lord, Thomas refused to accept it without physical proof. "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe," he declared. This statement, far from mere stubbornness, reflects a deep need for personal experience and authenticity in his faith. Jesus' response to Thomas was not one of reproach, but of compassion. He appeared again and offered Thomas exactly what he needed: the opportunity to touch and see. Thomas's response to the encounter, "My Lord and my God," is one of the most profound declarations of faith recorded in the New Testament, marking his transformation from skeptic to devoted witness. With his faith now strengthened, Thomas set out to bring the gospel to distant lands. It is believed that he traveled further than any of the other apostles, reaching India, where he established one of the first Christian communities. The marks of his journey are still visible today in the Christian communities of India, which trace their roots back to Thomas's ministry. Thomas's martyrdom, like his life, was marked by his fervent faith and commitment to the gospel. In Chennai, India, he met his end, killed by spears at the hands of Hindu priests who saw his preaching as a threat to the status quo. Even in his final moments, Thomas continued to preach the love and redemption offered by Christ, sealing his testimony with his blood. Thomas's story is a powerful reminder that faith often comes through doubt, and those who seek the truth can find a deeper understanding and a firmer conviction. He shows us that each person's spiritual journey is unique and that doubts can lead to a more robust and lived faith. James, son of Alphaeus, also known as James the Lesser to distinguish him from James, son of Zebedee, is one of the most enigmatic figures among the apostles. His presence in the Gospels is discreet, but his quiet, constant dedication to the early Christian movement places him in a position of respect and reverence. Christian tradition often describes James the Lesser as a man of great virtue and a pillar of faith, tirelessly working behind the scenes to strengthen and expand the nascent church. After Christ's ascension, James took on a vital, though often underestimated, role in spreading Christianity. While Peter and Paul are often remembered for their public sermons and dramatic confrontations with authorities, James worked primarily through ministries of teaching and service, helping to solidify the foundations of faith among Judeo-Christian communities. His approach was less about spectacular conversions and more about the careful cultivation of a community of committed believers. James's influence extended beyond the confines of Jerusalem. He is credited with spreading the gospel to surrounding areas and possibly beyond, in missionary campaigns that may have included parts of Syria and Persia. In each new community, James planted the seeds of Christian doctrine, establishing prayer groups and teaching Jesus' precepts in a way that could be easily assimilated by people from different cultures and traditions. James's fate, like that of many of the apostles, was marked by martyrdom. While working in a region dominated by pagan religious traditions, James faced growing hostility. Tradition reports that he was eventually captured and martyred, sacrificed for his unwavering faith and commitment to spreading Christ's gospel. His martyrdom was not only a testimony to his own faith, but also a powerful call to commitment and perseverance for future generations of Christians. The story of James the Lesser is reminiscent of the many who, throughout history, have worked behind the scenes, far from the limelight, but whose efforts were crucial to the growth and sustenance of powerful movements. In his quiet dedication, he exemplifies the essence of Christian service, the belief that true greatness comes not from public feats, but from humble, persistent service to others. James the Lesser remains a model for all those dedicated to living and spreading the gospel in a discreet yet profoundly impactful way. Simon, called the Zealot, one of the most mysterious and enigmatic apostles, is often overshadowed in biblical narratives, but his story carries a powerful legacy of fervor and commitment. Unlike Simon Peter, this Simon was known for his revolutionary fervor, possibly linked to the Zealots, a Jewish group dedicated to resisting Roman occupation. This passion for justice and freedom was transformed by his encounter with Christ, channeling his zeal from political to spiritual. Following Jesus, Simon was exposed to a different kind of revolution, one that involved not swords or shields but love, forgiveness, and the spread of the good news. This change was no small feat for a man of his temperament and background, suggesting a profound internal conversion. As an apostle, Simon embraced the mission of spreading Jesus' message, taking it to regions that extended beyond the traditional boundaries of Judaism, encountering cultures and peoples who had never heard of the God of Israel. Simon's mission led him to the heart of the Roman Empire, including parts of North Africa and, according to some traditions, even to Great Britain. In each location, Simon faced immense challenges. His past as a zealot may have prepared him well for the physical hardships of these missions, but it was his spiritual conversion that enabled him to face persecutions and adversities with extraordinary resilience. He preached the gospel, living out his convictions, providing an example of faith that inspired both conversions and controversies. Simon's martyrdom is a testimony to his unwavering dedication. According to reports, he was eventually captured and, in a final act of fidelity to his beliefs, suffered a cruel death. Simon was sawn in half, a form of execution reserved for those considered most subversive and dangerous by the Romans. This brutal death reflected the brutality of his captors and the strength of his commitment to the gospel. Simon the Zealot embodies the spirit of struggle and transformation. From a fervent fighter for political freedom to a tireless warrior of faith, his life is a powerful reminder of the transformative impact that an encounter with Christ can have. His legacy lives on in those who continue to fight for their beliefs with courage and zeal, regardless of the obstacles. His story is not just a footnote in the Gospels. It is a vibrant chapter in the history of early Christianity, exemplifying how faith can completely reshape hearts and lives. Jude Thaddius, often overshadowed by his infamous namesake Judas Iscariot, is one of the most inspiring figures among the apostles. Known as the patron saint of desperate causes, his life and mission are a testament to hope and deep faith. His commitment to spreading the gospel, even in the most challenging circumstances, marks him as one of the spiritual pillars of the early church. Before joining the 12, little is known about his life, but after Christ's ascension, Jude Thaddius passionately embraced his apostolic mission. He traveled extensively, bringing the good news to regions as distant as Mesopotamia and Persia, places where Christianity was a newly planted seed in foreign soil. In each city, he faced skepticism and hostility, but also found open hearts, ready to receive the message of salvation. Jude Thaddius's ministry is notable not only for the geographic extent of his travels, but also for the depth of his spiritual impact. He is credited with numerous miracles and conversions, often operating under conditions of great danger. His epistles, although brief, are powerful exhortations to love and perseverance in faith, written with the authority of someone who faced significant personal and spiritual adversities. Tradition tells us that Jude Thaddius's end was marked by martyrdom. In one of his last apostolic acts, in Persia, he was captured by pagan forces resistant to the Christian message. Along with Simon, he suffered a brutal fate, being martyred by stoning and then beheaded. This extreme act of violence was an attempt to extinguish the flame of Christianity he had helped spread, but instead, it cemented his legacy as a martyr of faith. Jude Thaddius's death was not the end of his influence. On the contrary, he became a figure of deep veneration, symbolizing eternal hope that transcends human despair. His story is often invoked by those seeking help in the darkest moments, a reminder that even in the most difficult circumstances, faith can prevail and perform miraculous transformations. Jude Thaddius, in his quiet yet powerful journey, embodies the promise that no sincere effort in the propagation of good is in vain. His persistent and courageous spirit inspires all those who seek to make a difference in a world often indifferent and hostile. Through his life and death, he teaches that true power does not reside in the strength of arms, but in the resilience of the human spirit and the ability to maintain faith even against all adversities. Judas Iscariot, whose name is synonymous with betrayal, occupies a unique place in the narrative of Jesus' apostles. His story is shrouded in mystery, conflict, and a tragic end that triggered one of the most crucial events in Christian history, the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ. Understanding Judas is not just about unraveling a traitor, but exploring the complexities of faith, free will, and destiny. Originally from Kerioth, Judas was the only apostle from southern Judea, distinct from the others who were from Galilee. His position as treasurer among the disciples suggests he had administrative skills and was initially trusted. However, the motivations behind his infamous decision to betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver are subjects of speculation and debate among theologians and historians. Some suggest disillusionment with the non-military direction of Jesus' messianism, while others point to more worldly greed or a misunderstood attempt to force Jesus to demonstrate his power and establish his kingdom. Judas' act of betrayal, delivering Jesus to the temple priest with a kiss, a universal symbol of love and trust turned into a sign of treachery, is one of the most dramatic and iconic moments in the New Testament. This act not only sealed Jesus' fate, but also that of Judas, whose remorse was swift and devastating. The scriptures narrate that Judas attempted to return the 30 pieces of silver, overwhelmed by guilt as he realized Jesus would be condemned to death. Judas' death is as controversial as his life. The Gospel of Matthew describes that, unable to bear the weight of his guilt, Judas hanged himself. The Acts of the Apostles offers a slightly different narrative, detailing his horrific death in a field purchased with the betrayal money, where he fell headlong and his body burst open. Regardless of the exact circumstances, Judas' end is portrayed as a final act of despair and isolation, a stark contrast to the hopeful martyrdom of the other apostles. The story of Judas Iscariot serves as a somber reminder of the complexities of the human heart and the profound consequences of our choices. However, in a broader context, his betrayal indirectly catalyzed the culmination of the divine plan for humanity's redemption. This paradox offers reflections on the nature of predestination and free will, themes that have intrigued and challenged Christians throughout the centuries. Judas Iscariot, though often vilified, is a crucial figure in the Passion of Christ, a character that embodies the tragedy of moral failure and the complexity of the biblical narratives. His story is a rich tapestry of lessons on the fragility of human nature, the sovereignty of God, and the eternal conflict between good and evil. The stories of the 12 apostles of Jesus Christ are a powerful mosaic of dedication, trial, and sacrifice. These men, whose lives were radically transformed by their encounter with Jesus, faced unimaginable adversities with a faith that knew no boundaries. Each of them, in their unique journey, carried the message of hope and salvation, leaving a legacy of courage and conviction that still resonates in the hearts of the faithful around the world. I hope this video has touched your spirit and enriched your understanding of these pillars of the Christian faith. If you have been inspired by these stories of unshakable faith, please consider subscribing to our channel for more content that enlightens and strengthens. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and click on one of the suggested videos on the screen to continue your journey with us. A strong embrace, and may God bless you all.